Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Pro Tips Live, Masters of Volume Photography. It's a lovely day up here in northern Jersey. It is April 1st, my birthday, and I turned 38 today. But it's a beautiful 57 degrees out. We're staying positive. We're staying hopeful. I know things are probably going to get worse over the next week, but we're looking ahead. We're looking past that. So actually, I wanted to do a show today, and I wanted to switch gears a little bit. I wanted to get away from the volume photography talk and the coronavirus talk, and I wanted to shed light on another aspect of photography that is sometimes and oftentimes forgotten, and that is staying fit, especially in this time of crisis. Okay, to keep your sanity, to stay mentally strong, you cannot lose your physical health. And I just wanted to tell a quick story about that. I played golf my whole life growing up, as did my brother, and I remember playing in a tournament when I was in high school, and I was never really that fit, especially in high school. And one of the other players came to me, and it was late in the round, it was late in the match. We were very close to tying the other team that we were playing. And he came over to me and he said, "You know, you look tired. Is everything okay?" And I said, "No, I'm very tired. Actually, we've played 17 holes. We walked, we carried our own bags. It was the 17th hole." And I said, "You know, I was tired on the 9th hole." And basically what happens, and once you physically lose your ability to do things, you lose it mentally. And golf is a big mental game. And when I physically lost it halfway, I mentally lost it. And everything just shut down on me. And we did not produce a victory, unfortunately, that weekend. But I guess the point of my story is that same aspect can be applied to any occupation, especially photography. If you're doing a school shoot or if you're doing a sports shoot and it's 6 to 8 hours long, and if you physically lose it, right, mentally, you're going to lose everything you have moving forward, meaning your creativity, meaning your ideas, or your interaction with the children, your energy, everything goes way down, right? So obviously, the more fit you are and in better physical conditioning, the more mental you're going to be. You're going to have more creativity. You're going to have better ideas. You're going to interact with the children better. You're going to have more energy. And overall, it's just something that I really think we all should be focused on. And especially, unfortunately, in this time of crisis, I remember 2.5, 3 weeks ago when this happened, the first thing I thought to myself that I need to do was I'm going to need to work out every day. I'm going to need to get my cardio in, any weight, whatever it is, just stay active. So I'm not going to sit here demanding people to do it. I just want to sit here to talk about it. I'm actually going to bring on a very, very close and best friend of mine who happens to be my brother. He's down at Palm Beach Gardens. So I just want to introduce him. I'm going to bring him on the show. He's been a professional golfer for many years. He owns his own fitness studio. He trains professional athletes. I'm going to bring him on for about 15, 20 minutes just to shed some light on the fitness industry, how anyone can use it, just stay active, come up with multiple ideas, in-house activities that you can do just to get through every day, right? And stay mentally strong for your family. That's the most important part. To me, I want to stay mentally strong so I don't lose it, because this can go on for another couple of weeks, maybe another month. Just before I bring him in, I want to read a brief bio on him. He is a outstanding individual. He is a professional, just to say the least. He sent me his bio real quick. So guys, he owns and operates Lifetime Performance, a golf and tennis training facility in Palm Beach Gardens. He opened in 2011. He is a certified corrective exercise specialist and performance enhancement specialist through the National Academy of Sports Medicine. He is a TPI Level 3 fitness instructor in 2009. He graduated with a master's degree in human movement from AT, Still University of Health Sciences. Just last year, he completed his certification as a medical exercise specialist and was recently certified as a tennis performance specialist through the ITPA. Ken has presented his training applications to numerous universities, teaching summits, country clubs, and athletic associations. His thirst for knowledge and continued success keeps him motivated to stay in the trenches and search for new, innovative ways to challenge and push each client to reach their potential. Okay, Ken played collegiate golf at the University of Richmond and 5 years on competitive professional golf, a career that is highlighted by numerous professional wins, including the 1998 New Jersey Open Championship. His intricate knowledge of the biomechanics behind the most efficient golf swings allows him to work effectively on improving the body's ability to perform at a high level while limiting the potential for injury. And some current clients from the PGA, the LPGA, and Korn Ferry are Honorable Lahiri, Charles Howe, David Hearn, Bert Stegmeyer, and Mel Reed. He's also worked with other professional athletes like Lee Westwood, Ray Floyd, Lindy Duncan, Ian Baker Finch, Brad Faxon, Vaughn Taylor. The list goes on. Anyway, without further ado, guys, I just want to bring in my brother, who I love dearly. This is Ken McDonald, guys, coming to you out of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. Hello, Ken. What's going on, buddy? Oh, hold on, let me unmute you. Sorry, I had to mute you so we didn't crack up and laugh at each other. Anyway, let me start over. How's it going down in Florida, buddy?
It's good. It's good. We've had great weather for about a month. It hasn't rained. The sky is blue. The temperature is perfect. Can't complain. Really, it's a good time to be stuck inside, I guess, to some degree, because we can still actually go outside, which is nice.
Right. So are you guys as strict as it is up here in New Jersey or New York, where it's a strict stay-at-home order, except for like the necessities like groceries or, picking up food at restaurants?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we don't have like a federal, there was never a federal announcement saying that there is a stay-at-home order. Apparently the governor's still waiting to get that. I don't know why he's waiting, but effectively that's what everyone is doing. Everyone's staying home. The only reason we're going out, actually we're really not, but if we were to go out, it'd be to buy groceries.
Yeah.
That's it. Fortunately, we've got groceries that can get delivered to the house, and we've been inside for about 2 weeks, and that's how long I've had my gym closed for. So.
Yeah, that's actually terrible, but at least you got a 10-month-old at home, right? Kaylee Ann,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You brought into the family. Thank you so much for doing that. She's adorable, and I get to see her every day on FaceTime.
I know, it's great, and she's it's kind of a blessing because it's time I never would have gotten to spend with her, especially in these kind of formative years. As it is, I see her on the weekends, obviously, and sometimes I get to come home during the day and then at night, but it doesn't compare. Being able to be with her all day like that is pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's special. I do know. Yeah.
You got two of them.
Anyway, listen, thanks for coming on the show. I'm going to get right into it. I don't want to make this a long show. I know people got a lot of things to do, but let's just get right into it. I want to chat about how important it is, no matter what your occupation is, right? So how to keep your body healthy and your mind, especially during a time like this. Do you have suggestions you can give anyone who's watching or listening?
Yeah, I think that we really do have a kind of a problem aside from what's going on now, but really the big problem in this country right now is inactivity. The World Health Organization effectively says somewhere between 60 and 80% aren't doing the recommended amounts of activity a day. And that's basically, or should say a week. So the CDC recommends you get around 2.5 hours a week of moderate intensity exercise, or 1.25 hours a week. This is total of exercise. So, I think it's pretty obvious Americans on a whole don't reach that. We sit a lot. We sit so much that it's the fourth leading cause of all mortality deaths, or at least risk factor for all mortality deaths. So, getting exercise, eating right, and obviously keeping your mind right is hugely important towards longevity. There have been a lot of studies that have actually looked at the amount of hours people have sat, and then basically their mortality rates. How much early or sooner are they likely to die than someone who moves around a lot? And the data is pretty staggering. You could expect, if you follow the guidelines pretty much and you don't smoke, you're at the right amount of weight, you follow the physical activity guidelines, you could pretty much expect to live on average like 12 years longer than the person who does exactly the opposite. That overweight person, the person that smokes, doesn't get any exercise. So, I think if that's not reason enough to get out and do something, obviously your profession is important too. And for what you guys have to do, I know you guys are outside a lot. You're sometimes in the heat, and you're working on end. So a couple things. One of the main things I tell my clients, especially if someone's starting out on a program, is to make your goal, whatever it is, really achievable in the beginning. Don't try to do something where you're going to say, I'm going to start running 3 miles a day or 2 miles a day, because that's just not going to happen. Right. Not only physically, but the mental side of it. You're going to lose that battle, that emotional swing over time. So let's say if someone's goal is to start to run or to get a little bit more fit cardiovascularly, I usually break the routines up into 5-minute blocks. So for instance, I would say, I want you to go out and run for 1 minute, and then I want you to walk for 4 minutes. So that's a total of 5 minutes. So you're gonna run for 1 minute, walk for 4 minutes, and then you're gonna repeat that cycle 5 times for 25 minutes total. Does that make sense? So you're really actually running for 5 total minutes, but you're getting the effects of going out for a walk. You're getting your heart rate up and down. You're doing some level of interval training, which is, again, has been shown to really improve cardiovascular capabilities. VO2 max, all those things. So, making the goal achievable is really important.
So
now that's
to cut you off real quick, just because you're talking about interval training. I despise running. I hate it. I think it's boring. I think it hurts my feet and my knees. But what I'm doing right now for the last 3 weeks, and I've done before, is I'll run a mile to a mile and a half, and I will do like a 2-minute, not necessarily a sprint, but a very fast run, and then I'll do a minute walk, and then I'll do a 2-minute fast run, and I'll do that until I reach the mile and a half. Is that something you would recommend to someone who is in my boat, who hates running? But I can tolerate that, is my point. Like, I could run and then I could walk. I could run and then I could walk.
Usually people are going to be able to tolerate intervals much better. I usually kind of like a maybe 1 to 3 work to rest ratio if you're going to do an interval program. So if you were to run for 15 seconds, and that would be in that category of close to a sprint, and then you would walk for 45 seconds. Okay, that would be about the average amount of time that it would take for your heart rate to come down. I think that's a bit of an aggressive goal. I would even go so far to say run for 15 seconds, walk for 90 seconds. This is, again, for someone who's starting out and just wants to get in shape. Now, let's take running out of the equation entirely. What if you wanted to do something that was a little less jarring on the body, especially if you've never run, because that also is a recipe for problems.
Yeah.
Obviously a bike, an elliptical, those are all great options. I prefer the elliptical because you are on your feet versus the bike where you are sitting. Sitting is like I was saying, is a huge problem. We sit too much as it is already. But just getting your heart rate up and getting a little sweat going can do a lot. And if you do that repeatedly over the course of a week, maybe, right now it's nice because I think a lot of people are doing it more and more because they don't have to go to work. But even just two to 3 days a week or something like that, 20 minutes at a time is going to be enough for you to notice the difference.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, that's great. And if you can offer some tips to give to people basically who aren't necessarily as fit as they can be or as active as they want to be, especially during this crisis. I know you touched on it in the last question a little bit, but what are like maybe 1 to 2 or even 3 small tips that they can give themselves?
You're talking about with regards to exercise?
Yeah, or staying active. Like you said, don't set your goals so high, set them a little bit lower, and then, progressively grow them as weeks go on.
I'm a big fan of going out for walks. I think it's great from the mental side of things. I like to listen to podcasts, but I really get some great thinking done when I'm out walking. I recommended, I did an Instagram video about a week ago, and that was one of my top 5 things that you can do to kind of stay healthy is go for a walk twice a day. Another thing is start experimenting around with just some body weight exercise. And that's kind of pretty easy to program. What I usually do is I would recommend doing a lower body exercise, like a body weight squat, an upper body exercise, maybe like an incline push-up on your dining room table.
Yeah.
And then a core exercise, just hold a plank, something like that, 30 seconds or so. So if you did 10 reps of each, you do that over the course of 3 sets or something, you can build up over time progressively with regards to sets and repetitions as your body adjusts to the resistance that you're applying to it. But just, again, I can't stress enough, and it's kind of flies in the face of everything you see on TV and social media, but start easy. Like, you don't need to go to beachbody.com and start working out with Sean T right away. It's great stuff, but a lot of people aren't ready for that.
Yeah, we just hope Sean T's not watching this, right?
No, like I said, it's not nothing. None of it's bad. It's just I think people get into trouble when they put themselves in a position where the tissues of their body are not ready to tolerate the forces or the demands associated with the exercises that are given to them. So there's a problem with the volume. The reps are too high. The time you're doing is too much. If you're catering this to someone who hasn't worked out before, you don't want to start there because we don't need a hamstring pull right now at this time. We don't need an Achilles tendon tear.
Right. Listen to your body. Right.
Yeah. Listen to your body always. Yeah.
And from what I'm gathering so far, that it seems to me maybe between 20 to 30 minutes a day, you can spend 10 minutes doing body weight circuits, so to speak, like you just said, incline push-up or a little plank or anything you want to do, and then maybe spend the next 10 minutes taking a walk or interval jogging, and that could be a recipe for success, at least a couple times a week.
Sure, and I think there's plenty of outlets to find a coach that could give you an idea of what body weight exercises to do. During this whole thing, I'm posting a workout every day on my Instagram page. It's in my story. It only lasts for 24 hours, but every day it's something different, and it's just body weight stuff.
Yeah.
So that's, but you can also go on YouTube and look for stuff like that. And I would say, yeah, something like that, maybe 3 times a week, and then making sure you're going out for a walk at least once a day. And if you want to add a little running to it, awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, okay, so what is a good goal to set? Basically, as a novice to the fitness world, as I just mentioned before, what should these people be reaching for? I know you said don't set your standards high, but someone who's never worked out before in years, and you want to say, this is what I want you to do on this day, and I want you to do it 3 times a week, what is something that is reasonable for them to achieve?
You're talking about without like any equipment, like during the time we are in now?
Like give them a body weight and cardio or something active.
Yeah. It's probably a combination of things. I think, we talked mostly about the exercise stuff. I think it's a realistic goal to say, 3 times a week, I want to be doing about 10 minutes of body weight type exercises, whatever they may be. Doing something that is implying that you have to use your muscles to some degree through a full range of motion. And then from a cardiovascular standpoint, get the walks in. I think that's another reasonable goal, making sure you're walking every day. And that actually just walking every day kind of meets the standards and guidelines that the CDC recommends for moderate activity.
Right.
So if you're getting in the neighborhood of, 12,000 steps a day, you're doing a pretty good job. I think that's kind of a good number or a good goal to look for with regards to regular activity. The vigorous activity is activity that essentially means you're having a harder time talking or catching your breath, you're sweating a little bit more. That would fall into the running category we talked about, or some of the higher intensity interval stuff, even some more, strenuous resistance training.
Right. Okay. Very good.
And, the nutritional standpoint, I don't know if I didn't get to this yet, but the nutritional standpoint, I think that should be another important goal too. Let's see if we can keep from drinking every night. I think that's one thing, because this time it's kind of tough to do that. And I'm not going to lie, I've had more than a few drinks since this whole thing started. But obviously, make sure you're waking up the next morning feeling good. If you're not drinking so much for that. And then with eating, I like to say, make sure you get a vegetable on your plate twice a day. Some sort of vegetable, not necessarily a root vegetable. So not like a baked potato or sweet potato, carrot, something a little bit more
Green.
Green, right. I think that's a good goal. Making sure you get your vegetables in for sure.
Yeah, we've been basically every meal has been made from whatever we've purchased from the grocery store. So actually, believe it or not, it seems much easier to get vegetables on our plates than it has been, because, we probably order out 2 to 3 times a week, when everything was as it used to be. But now we're just forced, we're making like quinoa, we're making healthy rice, we're making a protein. Like you said, we're doing a sweet potato over a baked potato maybe. And then, of course, we're always throwing in maybe a kale or a broccoli or something like that. I know it's not great, but
no, that's great. I think that's great. If you have the patience, which a lot of people don't, certainly people have the time, but to actually cook for yourself, I think that's great. I think the next best thing is to look into food delivery companies that already make the food. They deliver to your house.
Yep.
From what they're saying, it doesn't seem like food is a problem, especially since most of the food is going to be heated up anyway. My wife and I, we use a food delivery company just because my wife's an attorney. She works a lot, and I get home very late sometimes, so we don't always have time or the desire to cook. So the food is already prepared. There's a huge menu on the website. Every area locally, I'm sure, has some sort of company that does this.
Right.
I really think that's a good thing for people, because it takes the decision making in a way out of their hands, or the options out of their hands to some degree. So
Yeah. You used to say to me when I'd have come to you for advice on nutrition or even working out, and let me know if this still holds true, but if you can focus 80% on your diet to being pretty healthy, then you could focus 20% on basically eating like crap, right? Or eating all the fun things that you want to eat.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of moderation, and I know you hear doctors say that a lot. Just do things in moderation. And I would say the irony is that doctors on a whole probably know the least about exercise and nutrition, but that advice they give is I think it's one of the best pieces of advice. Just
right.
Moderation. You get in trouble with too much exercise. You get in trouble with too much food, obviously. So if you do something really well 5 days a week, And let's say that's you're eating well 5 days a week. Those other 2 days, you can start to, eat lousy. You can eat junk food, that sort of thing. Knowing though that when Monday comes back around, you're going to be eating well again. The body will adjust to that. You're not going to gain the weight you think you would, as long as you're good 80% of the time.
I know. I'm at a point right now where I feel like if I eat one terrible meal, I backtrack like 2 weeks.
Some people are different. Yeah, there's probably a mental component to that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's some good advice there. All right, I want to try and explain this question. It's not very clear, but so what is the biggest difference you see in professional athletes? I know you work with a lot of professional athletes on a daily and mostly weekly basis. Compared to your average person, and let's just use me as that average person. I work for a living. I'm pretty active in my job, but what advice can be given to me, knowing that you work with these professional athletes and you see like the drive and the strength that they mentally have? How can you turn that into advice to give to me to use into my field? You know what I mean? Like, what is a good drive? Like I said, that you see in these athletes, how can you portray that to me? How can you give that advice to me?
Well, I think you should understand too that you're a professional in your field. Obviously, you're really high up there. I mean, you have your own YouTube show. You're providing a lot of education for other photographers like yourself. So I think you kind of have to look at yourself like an athlete to some degree. I mean, I know that sounds weird, but your job is physical, so you need to take it seriously that way. And I think what you said earlier in the beginning made a lot of sense. Is that if you are out of shape, if the heat is starting to affect you, it's going to wear on you kind of mentally. It's going to drive you down a little bit, and that will be reflected in your personality and how you relate to the people you're taking pictures of. So especially large groups, kids, for instance, they're going to feed off your energy. So if you don't come to that shoot 100% ready to go and maintain that throughout the entire shoot, these kids will pick up on that. And I work with a lot of kids. I mean, they thrive off of the energy of the coaches. So if you kind of consider yourself as that coach for those hours, and I know you've probably got a good, when you've had a good shoot, you know it. You know what I mean? Like you go home, you want to tell your wife about it. It feels good. It lightens you up a little bit. So I would say, train like you're an athlete, train like you're a coach, and that what you do matters because it's going to be reflected in the quality of the work you provide them. And it's going to really show up in your mood, your energy level, that sort of thing. So that would be my advice. If that's not a reason to be fit, I don't really know what is, especially for your job.
Yeah. So you see, basically what I'm trying to say is maybe the mental strength of these professional athletes is so strong, more so than their physical strength. You know what I mean? Like that's what separates them. One of my little guys here. Who's here? Guys, I'll be right down. They wanted to come on the show. It's my birthday, so they got some surprises going on for me downstairs. So apparently I got to go. But anyway, I guess what I was trying to say is you see a huge difference maybe in the mentality and the mental strength of professional athletes compared to the average person. Because mentally,
the average athlete, one of the big reasons professional golfers make it to the PGA Tour is the mental part of it. A lot of these guys hit the ball just as well that are on the mini tours. But when it comes down to it, can they hit it as well? Can they putt as well when it really counts? When there's that fear of embarrassment, when there's that fear of losing. And the top of the top, the guys that are up there consistently year in and year out have no problem with that. They want to show off. They're cocky. They may not show it, or they show it in different ways when they're interviewed. But the mental game, I mean, that is, in my opinion, that is like the dividing line between who makes it and who doesn't.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, this all makes total sense. Well, I just want to wrap this up. I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. I just want to, as I said, steer into a different direction, for these photographers, just to focus their mind on something else.
Right.
If never gotten into fitness, now is the time for sure. I haven't done it in a long time. I used to be, then I wasn't, then I used to be, then I wasn't. So just recently I wasn't. So like I said, about a couple of weeks ago, I got back into it, and I really want to press how important it is in our industry and in your industry. So again, thank you, buddy, for coming on. I love you. I miss you. Stay safe down there. Give Kaylee Ann a kiss for me.
I will. I think you're right, and hopefully we can use this time, because this will be a while, to start to create some habits that we can't break. In other words, we do something so consistently, it becomes a new habit. And if exercise is one of them, I think that's great. And so, for anyone out there who's watching or listening, if you follow me on Instagram, KennyMac_LP, you can see my story. You can see daily workouts that are up. I got a lot of information for that, and so hopefully that can help. And if you have any questions or anything, don't feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to speak with you.
Yeah, for sure. Guys, he's a professional. He's happy to help. Shoot him a message, like he said. Send him an email. Follow him on Instagram. He's got a lot of good stuff. Anyway, buddy, thanks again for coming on.
Thanks,
I'm going to run.
Hey, man, have a good night. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, buddy. Talk soon. Okay, guys, that's the show today. That was Ken McDonald down in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. He's got a lot of good things to say. As I said, I wanted to switch gears, talk about something else for the day. But I said earlier, it is my birthday today, so I'm going to go down and enjoy this Budweiser and maybe support Budweiser and Anheuser-Busch. They just recently used their resources to start creating and developing N95 masks for the hospitals across the nation. So that's some good news. I try and focus on all the good and positive news and not the statistics that are happening, especially in New Jersey and New York. It's pretty sad. Anyway, guys, I love y'all madly. Thanks for watching. We'll be back next week for another show. Please give it a thumbs up if you like the video and subscribe below. We try and update this weekly, maybe even daily if this keeps going on and on and on. Anyway, we'll get through this together. All right. See you guys. Be well.